And it hits me, oh my gosh, this is that triangle.
You know, there's explanation for everything that occurred in the Rendlesham Forest incident that doesn't involve aliens at all.
It was completely silent. It comes right over our heads.
He saw a classic flying saucer, really, standing in the clearing.
He turned over to my father and held his hand, and he looked in his eyes, and he said, "We're not alone."
Welcome to Podcast UFO for our live show. We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Please remember to visit the website podcastufo.com for past episodes, blogs, and forums. During the show, feel free to participate live in our chat room. And don't forget to like us on our very active Facebook page.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm Martin Willis, your host. And coming up in just a minute, or even less, is Alejandro Rojas with the UFO news. And I want to give a big shout-out to, actually, he's been the show's biggest supporter, Phil. Now, Phil is somewhere in Michigan, and he's on a fishing trip, and I think he's been skunked. There's no fish, so I'm going to give a shout-out to his buddies with him, Gary Hengenman, Paul Brown, and, of course, Phil Sanders. And Phil also wants Lou to know that he should have come. It's all his fault. Anyway, thanks, Phil. I hope you have better luck after this. All right, so coming up for a guest tonight is Ben Hansen, the one and only Ben Hansen. And after that, in hour 2, we're going to do something entirely different we've never done before. And that is, we are going to play some clips from the Faded Discs. Now, this is an archive of early UFO interviews and talks from some icons of the past. Wendy Connors put this together, and Michael Lauk, who you know used to be on this show, is still writing blogs. He wrote a blog on that. That's a fresh new blog right up on our website, podcastufo.com. And all the links to these archives are in that blog. So, hour 1, Ben Hansen. Hour 2, I'm going to play some clips. You can call in if you'd like. We can discuss these clips. You can chat room, discuss this, anything you want. When I said Phil was the biggest supporter of the show, I meant financially. Peggy Shunning out in Las Vegas is our biggest supporter as far as help. Thank you, Peggy. She helps us with the Facebook page. Now, supporters can listen to the second part of the show, and I want to thank you for all your support and listening, whether you can help us out or not. I appreciate each and every one of you, but for just $1 a month or more, you can listen to the second part of the show. Just go to podcastufo.com. All right, we're ready to roll in the news. And how you doing, Alejandro?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Long time no talk, man.
Yeah, it's been hours.
I know, yeah. So what is there anything new in the news?
There's lots of new stuff, and the advantage of, you doing your show midweek, whereas I do mine at the beginning of the week, is that there are updates to the news that we've discussed on my show. So one of those updates, though, has to do with the Roswell slides. Will you allow me to speak about the Roswell slides? Momentarily.
I will give you a mulligan, yes.
The great thing about this is that they're going to get the latest and greatest information from you. On the show here. So this is kind of cool. Shepard Johnson, who you know, I know, we see him on UFO Updates. He's written some stories for us at Open Minds. He did a FOIA for the National Park Service because of the evidence of when the placard was deciphered in the Roswell slides. It said, this was a mummy or a mummified body discovered by S.L. Palmer. It was then discovered that this was found in the late 1800s by S.L. Palmer, and then it spent some time at Mesa Verde Park and then at Montezuma's park, both national parks. Well, he got back a 160-page document chronicling kind of the history of this thing with a bunch of information and a photo. The photo looks very, very similar to the Roswell slides. And so it pretty much just kind of seals up everything because it talks about this S.L. Palmer, body. And it does confirm, essentially, that the body was reburied. It was given back to the Native Americans and reburied in the late 90s when these things were returned to the Native Americans so they could do that. Because, of course, digging up people's ancestries and just kind of showing them on display is considered a bit disrespectful, and I don't think anybody can blame Native Americans for feeling that way. So they wanted to rebury those bodies, and they were able to do that in the late 90s. So what's interesting, of course, is Jaime Maussan has said he'll give $10,000 to anybody who is able to crack the case, $5,000 to anybody who produces a picture. Someone else produced a picture in the past which was valid, but for some reason he said it was a painting. And now that Shepard has done this, I think Shepard's deserving of the $10,000. However, I don't think he will receive it. Jaime Maussan still very quickly, without research, is just saying no, that information is wrong. And it's frustrating, but that's what he's doing. But there is an update. That's interesting. Everybody keeps saying, the curtain is closed. It's the end of the story. And I don't know why they keep saying that, because it never is the end of the story, but that's the latest and greatest.
Show me the mummy. Well,
yeah.
If you dial back this podcast several episodes ago, I mentioned that the mummy was probably reburied. You can actually hear me say that. Wow, that was kind of a guess.
Really?
Oh yeah, because I know that they did that with like you're saying, Native Americans. There's a lot of if you research that, there's been a lot of history of people digging these things up, taking them, and actually being prosecuted and just spending time in prison for messing with remains of Native Americans. So
yeah,
there's a lot of laws protecting that right now.
It's not a cool thing to do.
No, it's not. But wow, so that's this is it. This is the final curtain. Yes.
Who knows? I doubt it.
Yeah, and
I know there's going to be a radio show tomorrow where they're all going to talk, and I'm sure they're not going to concede. I don't know why. I mean, the placard, their own picture was deciphered. The thing looks extremely familiar. Now they're saying that their picture shows a larger body, but the body is exactly, I mean, even the mouth and the eyes, one eye is closed, one eye is partially open. I mean, it is the same exact thing.
Now, there's if you look at the original slide, you'll see there's above the, I think it's the left eye, there's a little bit of an angle, I don't want to say scar, but a marking. And if you look on the pictures that were found recently, there's the same marking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it pretty much covers, it's got to be the same.
Yeah, I think, there are so many similarities. I mean, that it's the same thing. So, I mean, it's really, to me, really silly at this point to be arguing against all of these great discoveries. And I wrote this in a post that it's frustrating that the Roswell Slides Research Group has gotten bashed by the supporters of the slides and claim that they were hoaxing things, because never have they hoaxed. And they have really been doing a professional and thorough investigation, and a much, much better investigation that was done by the people with the slides, unfortunately. And I'm
yes.
not, some of those researchers with the slides I respect, but they can learn something from the Roswell Slides Group. And I know these guys, they're not hoaxers. They may be ornery at sometimes, but they are careful researchers.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I think George Knapp said it the best, that the UFO community took care of itself and did what they should have done, and that is in researching these slides.
Right, exactly. I agree 100%. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, and he said the UFO community is not dead. And
no.
People have said that this is a doom. It's not a doom at all.
Not at all. And Nick Pope wrote a big thing saying, hey, guys, this is a debacle and it's ridiculous. And I don't know why anybody would think it wasn't anything but a body in a museum. But the media also saw that, and they could care less about this story. And there was maybe one media story in the UK that made fun of the whole thing. But that's it. The media has not paid attention to this whole thing. So besides UFOers, Nobody really knows about it.
Yeah, that's a lucky break for us.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah, yep. So what else is going on?
Well, you talked on my show about this UFO over Loch Ness. That was your theory was that these UFOs were possibly Loch Ness monsters or coming to see the Loch Ness monster or something like that. I thought that theory was a little wild.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a little out there. But there's actually been more discovery on this case.
Oh.
So what happened is in April, this family, the Betts, Alan and Anna and Anna's parents all were vacationing out Loch Ness next to that castle, that beautiful castle you see in the pictures. Yeah, I have a difficulty saying it correctly, but something like that. It was raining really hard. Supposedly, when the rain stopped, Mom went outside, took a picture of the scenery, and you can see the rain off in the distance. And in this picture, she has these two little lights. They didn't see that at first. They say their dog was barking strangely, but they didn't notice anything peculiar until the family looked at the photos, a couple months later, just recently, and they said, oh, my gosh, look at these UFOs. So, they say that they took multiple pictures and this wasn't in other pictures, so they don't believe what some have said is some kind of muck on the lens or something like that. And so the mystery is, what are these? Well, you know what? Right before I walked into the room, I posted my version of this story on Open Minds, and someone sent me a link of someone who essentially seemingly has debunked this whole thing. So,
let's hear the debunk.
And I think they've got it. So what they're saying is it's probably a reflection of a light, kind of from inside the house. So even though the mom said she went outside, there's evidence in the picture that she didn't. So this person zoomed in on the picture and was able to show that it looks like there are reflections of the curtains on the light or on the picture. And if you look carefully, it looks like you can see that. And he was actually in this room, the same room that they were in, and there was a certain kind of light that he was able to show has the same shape as what's in the photo. One of the arguments is, well, why are there two? Well, he noticed that it's probably a double-paned window. Yeah, and there are many examples that not only he found but others have posted of kind of this reflecting light phenomena doubling because of double-paned windows. I think he's cracked the case.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I know. So what's funny is for our UFO report that we do every week, we're about to interview Lee Spiegel, and he wrote about this as well. He spoke with the couple, so we're going to ask him about what they talked about, but I'm going to have to break this news to him.
Yeah. Just break it to him live on the air. Make sure you Yeah.
Yeah, you think you're so great. What about this?
Yeah.
And
perfect. Yeah.
Make them cry.
Yeah. So what else is happening?
Couple other stories. This one's kind of neat. And this was halfway debunked, I think. This was UFOvni Disclosure, which is a YouTube site, and it's not one we refer to often, but this is kind of an interesting video of some UFOs over Tulum, Mexico, another castle, a Mayan castle that's right on the beach. Oh man, I was just in Cozumel near this place, but it was a little too far away for us to get out there to visit. I wish I could have, but it's this beautiful castle. And recently there was a video, and supposedly a man's wife said she saw some flashes. He tried to take a video of it. Instead, he got this thing that seems like it's going through the cloud and these two strange flashes. So it's kind of weird. Some people are marking that off to some sort of reflection. People have to take a look and see what they think. Then there's a second video that from 2013. Roger Marsh wrote this story, and he saw that in 2013 there was another sighting, and this was a picture that was captured on Google Zoom, and he wrote about that. However, a lot of people have demonstrated that the Google Street video was most likely a bug on the camera housing. So some people disagree with that, but I think that it probably is. But the flashing video is a little more mysterious. So, yeah, people can check that out. on our website and this Friday on our UFO report. And I have just one more quickie I want to talk about, a fun picture. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So this is a leaked photo from the X-Files set. And it's a crashed UFO. Have you seen this?
I have, yes. Yep.
Pretty cool, huh? So, it's this crashed UFO, and I'm sure this picture is going to begin to circulate as a real crashed UFO at any moment now. But luckily, we were able to document prior to that it's actually a movie set from the X-Files. And it's just really exciting. I think people are excited about this. In fact, when I posted this story earlier today, George Knapp, who we referred to, reposted it on his Facebook, because I think we're just all so excited about the X-Files starting up. We're hoping there's lots of UFOs and aliens in it, and this just demonstrates there'll be UFOs in some manner.
Yeah. Hey, Alejandro, are you in like a diner or something? Do I hear clanking?
No, you do hear clanking. It is someone. We're setting up for our Lee Spiegel interview.
Ah, okay. Lee did it again.
I know, that son of a gun.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much, man. This is good stuff. And,
all right, no problem.
All right, so hang in there for our guest, Ben Hansen, right after this music break. Ben Hansen, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You know, I had no idea you were even on or not. Glad to hear you.
You too. As long as I'm coming through clear, we're all good.
You are, yes. I just told everyone in the chat room to cross their fingers. It worked.
Well, I just moved my house to another apartment when I got married, so I had all my mics and computer parts in different boxes, so I'm glad we got it back together.
Well, I know how. Hey, congratulations! You just very recently got married.
I did. I was married on the 5th of May, and then I was with my wife for 5 days before I took off to Australia for several weeks. So, yeah, it was kind of fun.
Wow, that's something. Now, you probably broke a lot of women's hearts as soon as they found Ben Hansen was no longer available. How about that?
I don't know about that, but different.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. We do have a call-in capability. Every once in a while, every like 2 or 3 shows, someone will call in. I'll just give that number out. It's 603-967-4030. And you can also jump in the chat room. We have a chat room right on the main page at podcastufo.com. And Ben, one of the things I thought we could talk about tonight is I love the analysis that you did. You and I haven't even discussed what we're going to talk about, but the analysis you did, first of all, of Bill Clinton and then of Obama. Can we talk a little bit about that? And it seems like Jimmy Kimmel had a heads up on that you were going to be looking at Obama.
Yeah, it was for those who haven't seen those or hadn't heard about it, it was kind of a daunting thing that happened because it was April of 2014, last year. Jimmy Kimmel interviewed President Clinton, and he said, I think it was on a Wednesday, maybe on a Monday, but he had 2 or 3 days heads up about what he was going to ask him. We don't know exactly if Jimmy Kimmel has his own personal interest in the UFO alien subject or if that's something the producers have kind of written up for him, or some have suggested that Bill Clinton and Obama, seeing that it would be reasonable they get all the questions before they're interviewed, that they specifically requested to be asked about the subject. So Jimmy Kimmel said, I'm going to talk to to Clinton. I'm going to ask him if he looked into the UFO files and blah, blah, blah. Well, so that interview took place. It was a little less than 3 minutes long, but he asked some pretty direct questions, and I did an analysis of it, which turned into a 36-minute long YouTube video. But it's, I think, just sitting under 100,000 views. I mean, for me, that's a lot of views. I don't really make a lot of videos. But so this past March, what happened was I was sitting there listening to the radio, and I hear that all the freeways up in L.A. are going to be closed because Obama's coming into town, and he's going to be interviewed on Jimmy Kimmel. I really didn't think anything about it. I didn't think he was going to be asked the same questions or what was going to happen. I don't even really watch TV. So I went to sleep. Well, the next morning, I get a slew of emails. People sending me things. When are you going to do an analysis? What do you think about what he said? And all this. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I went online, and first of all, I found that the Los Angeles Times had done a story the day before on Jimmy Kimmel asking, hypothetically, well, what is Jimmy Kimmel going to ask Obama the same questions? And they referenced my analysis on Clinton. So then you get online and you watch, I watched Obama's interview, which is only about 50 seconds long, that part of the segment. But Jimmy Kimmel prefaces that part of one of the questions telling him there are people who are going to analyze everything you say, every gesture, blah, blah, blah. So he's referencing my video, which was kind of a daunting thing, like I said, to have the President of the United States laughing and saying, I know. And so I felt compelled. By this point, I was like, okay, got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how long, let's talk about, first of all, about Clinton. How long did it take you to study that? And I could just imagine you going back and forth to watch these expressions and hand gestures. And let's basically, you say right in the beginning of the film that you're not considered an expert, but you did have some training when you were with the FBI. But can you explain how that works?
Sure. Before I went to the FBI, I worked for several years investigating child sex crimes. So I was certified in what we call forensic interviewing technique. So interviewing victims and perpetrators, basically interrogations, trying to get confessions, and also, listening to witnesses, which does not include advanced degrees or anything of that nature. It's more kind of on-the-job experience. There are psychologists who research and study nonverbal, but the disclaimers I made were that I hope, and I believe that I know a little bit more than the everyday person, but at the same time, I have not done my own research. What I did was compiled what other people have studied about these different gestures, and the first thing you have to do is transcribe the whole interview, which you wouldn't think is very difficult. It was less than 3 minutes, but when you break it down, I add in all those little yeah, no, the stutters, the stuff that people don't put in a normal transcription because those are very important. And then you really do go by frame, and for people who think I was being really hypercritical, like I point out in the video, you should take a look at research done on microexpressions, because these are the thing that the TV show Lie to Me was based on.
Oh, right. I've watched a little bit of that. Yeah.
Well, the technical advisor, Paul Eckhart, developed microexpressions, and he's looking at things that are so minute. We're talking about thousandths of a second, where somebody has a little twitch, a little corner of their mouth goes up right before they speak or do something. So the depth that I got into is nowhere near what they analyze and say is very accurate. And so that's what we do. And we look not only at what they're saying, how they're saying it, and what their body's conveying. And basically we're looking for incongruencies. So we have to know the person, primarily how they communicate when they're not being deceptive or stressed. And then we look for a deviation in that. And with Bill Clinton, we had a lot of good examples of him being deceptive. And with Obama, we had a lot of good examples of him being stressed. So right. That's where we make the comparisons.
Right. And it seems to me, I may be wrong, but, that the Clintons actually did have, there is some evidence out there that they did have an interest in UFOs.
Yes, definitely. And before Clinton even talked about it on Jimmy Kimmel, we all, those of us who study this, we know about the Rockefeller Initiative. We know about John Podesta,
right?
And his involvement and how he was probably tasked as part of that initiative to go and do the things that he was saying happened on Jimmy Kimmel. He said he looked into Area 51, and he said he looked into Roswell. And that's where it gets really messy, because I'll give him the fact that he might be getting a little senile. He's getting up there in age. But he was very confused about the timelines. And we have those documented as to when the Office of Inspector General report came out about Roswell. And we have, we didn't have really much about his Area 51 inquiries, other than there was that lawsuit that was going on at the time. And he just says some things that were very odd, things that were not common knowledge, and then he mixes up the timeline and he starts talking about something, changes the subject, shows all these signs of being stressed, and then just tries to bail out of it.
And he's got a lot of practice at that. His years in the Oval Office, the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. He is one of the both Clinton and Obama, in my opinion, are some of the most eloquent speakers, smooth talkers that have been in the office, at least in my lifetime.
Yes, I would totally agree, and that's the argument that a lot of people use for and against, an analysis of this sort. Because if he is so eloquent, that could mean this must be something that really is stressful, because these signs are what we call leaking out. These emotions, the incongruencies are leaking through despite his attempts to control them. Or we could say, oh, he's just messing with us. He's so good at this. He's just, and my experience with interviewing people, though, however, is that most people are not good liars. They're just not. Even at your attempts to try and control something, if you know the person, they usually come off kind of contrived.
Mm-hmm. Now, is Clinton, you mentioned that you thought maybe he's just touched a little bit because of his age. How old is Clinton?
Oh, you've got me there. Gosh, he's got to be pushing late 60s. Is he 70 already? I don't know. He's up there.
Yeah, okay. But, so, yeah, he's 68, actually. So, but anyway, I haven't really noticed that about him. He still seems pretty sharp, but you do consider him being a little bit confused?
Well, no, not necessarily. That's what kind of the those who object, the detractors, I guess, to my analysis are saying is, oh, he's just confused. He's senile. Well, we do know he's had a stroke before, and that's something I did not address in the video when we talk about one side of his body. You can see it in his eyes. If you pull up a picture of him lately, you'll see one half of his face is kind of drooped more than the other. One eyelid is kind of closed more. That's typical of a stroke.
Yeah. Right. I had no idea he had a stroke.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, and that will affect some things, but his memory is typical of what he was doing. Is what I call backing out of the dead end alley. Is when you start talking about something, because Clinton's style of speech, he doesn't like silence. So he's the type of guy who will just open his mouth, start talking, and hope that it leads somewhere. Whereas Obama maintains his composure more, and he uses more humor to try to fill in the gap and buy time. And so you'll see that in the Clinton video, and he'll start talking about Area 51, for example, and he'll say things like, well, the reason that, there's no aliens there, well, he says that later, but he says that people had to stop an hour outside of the base to put on special clothing because they're working on stealth technology there, but there's no aliens down there. Right. And which makes no sense. No sense. I mean, I talked to George Knapp, who broke the story, and he, of anybody, should know if any of the workers had come forward and say, yeah, there's special clothes you put on. But that was a detail that was added, which kind of makes you think that he's been advised by somebody and was given a whole lot of details that he can't keep straight, or that he realized he was saying things that wasn't public knowledge. And so you start to see the elevation of the stress go up. Now, that does not mean he knows anything about aliens or UFOs. It doesn't mean that he's covering something up. All that it means is that we can see his stress going up. He does not like the subject. So then we have to speculate as to why.
Right. And you said so he was stressed. And what did you say about Obama? What was his underlying reaction? Well,
I believe that Obama, we had 50 seconds basically to analyze from his interview, which is not much. But I did point out something I didn't think I was going to be able to take out of this. And a lot of people disagree, and that's fine. Because it's shot in high definition, when they post these videos online, I was actually able to zoom in on his chest as he's giving the interview, and you can see as he's breathing, you can actually count the breathing rate.
Right.
Now, it doesn't take much to get into the medical background on normal rates of breathing and all this stuff, and he's over twice at least the normal breathing rate for this brief period of time. And if you understand what stress breathing is, when someone hooks you up to a polygraph, it doesn't mean that you ask somebody and they lie, they're going to suddenly be out of breath, because he doesn't seem out of breath at all. In fact, it's kind of a physiological response that your body thinks you need more oxygen. So that's why we pay attention to when somebody's breathing rate goes up. Now, that's okay. That aside, yeah, it's interesting. But as you start to see how he uses these other techniques, such as humor, which, most people who, even if you don't like Obama, think you got to admit he's kind of a likable guy. He likes to laugh and joke. He's easygoing. He uses humor a lot, and he uses it inappropriately. He gets in trouble a lot for the things he says, and I put a string of things together as to when he addresses the UFO subject, how he always has treated it. It's always been with derision, always, until one part of this interview. So he throws in a few jokes. I believe it was an attempt to kind of buy time and break the ice and kind of give him some time to relax into this subject. But when Kimmel finally corners him and says, "Did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?" And he stutters, he looks away, he turns his eyes down, and he says, I can't reveal anything. Now, people who thought he was joking the whole time, I would agree that he was joking in the beginning, because he's using it as a technique to buy time and loosen things up. However, when you get to this part here, and I break it down in the video and show I believe it's a demeanor shift that's as great, if not greater, than what Bill Clinton did. And I do not believe that he was joking. If you take it into the context of what just happened with John Podesta leaving the White House, making his tweet, we know that Podesta was not joking as well. That would be going against everything that he stood for at the National Press Club and speaking out about disclosure. It would go against all the work he's done with the Clintons regarding a disclosure. So he's not joking when he tweets, my biggest regret of leaving in 2014, leaving the Obama administration is not obtaining UFO disclosure. So he leaves, and about 3 weeks later, or a month later, Obama appears on Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't think you can dismiss that as being non sequitur, because he really, in the context of this, it was not that far-fetched to assume that sometime during that whole year, Podesta grabbed the ear of the president and tried to push his agenda and say, hey, while I'm here, this is something I think you should really look into. So break that one sentence apart. I can't reveal anything. No U.S. president has ever stated about the UFO subject, I can't reveal anything. They just haven't. That's a very strange thing to say if your administration has already come out and has already said, we looked into the subject, there's no credible evidence of a cover-up nor credible evidence that we have discovered extraterrestrial life. They said that, with the disclosure petition in his administration.
That's right. Yeah.
So why would you come out and say, I can't reveal anything? Why not say, I refer you to the petition that's on the White House website right now. There's nothing new to talk about.
Well, one of the things, going back to when Podesta said that tweet, I had Stephen Bassett on the following week, and Leslie Kane was very upset. She said that she has close ties to him, and they communicate quite a bit. And she said, knowing him, he was joking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so I'm here. You hear both sides of that. I did ask her if she talked to him directly to ask him, and she said no. But she said he has a sense of humor like that, and it could have been just a joke. And when I was watching Obama before I watched your video, and that's a pretty long video. I can't remember how long is that one.
That one's 40 minutes. So
right.
Sit back, grab a drink.
Yeah, it's actually good, and I can link these on this in the show notes. I will do that. I'll put those up in the show notes tomorrow. But when I watched Obama, without even looking into it, I just thought, well, he's a funny guy. He's got a good sense of humor. I didn't, my first reaction was that he wasn't hiding anything, and then I watched your video, and it really made me think. And so I do suggest to the listener to, like you said, sit back, have a drink, watch the videos, and you make some very valid points with these very, small signals these people are doing. And it's kind of like, in a way, it's sort of like a polygraph without being hooked up, because someone, they ask people questions and they see how they are in a normal answering truthful questions, how the pulse and everything else reacts, and then when they lie, or then that's when everything kind of there's fluctuations. So in a way, you're kind of doing that, right? Through body language.
Yeah, and if anything does leak through, I actually think it's more significant because the stress levels are ratcheted up many, many more times. When you're actually sitting in a chair with a polygraph or having an interrogation and you're being accused of some criminal thing or taking a deposition in court, the stress levels are increased greatly. This was supposed to be for entertainment. This is supposed to be fun, loose. He's talking about Kanye West. Clinton's talking about his favorite food is cheese. And so you'll see that relaxation take place earlier in the interviews, but there's a very marked difference and shift in demeanor with both of them. that's why I think it is pretty significant. Now, Alejandro, who you just had on, he disagrees. He's one of them who respectfully disagrees with me, that he thinks he's joking the whole time. And that's why we can't rely just upon the body language. You have to bring in the context. Everything has to be looked at in the context of how it was said and the words that somebody chooses. And that's why I think that one phrase is gold. That one phrase, I can't reveal anything. It leaves us with really just two possibilities. Number one, Obama likes to be the cool kid in high school and make you think that he knows something, but that's just kind of his tagline for everything because he wants you to think he's in the know. Maybe he's trying to divert people from talking about the economy problems or whatever. Or that was a genuine reaction because he's had conversations with people that have told him in no uncertain terms, don't worry about it, Mr. President, or you don't need to go there, you don't have a need to know. That type of reaction would be kind of typical of somebody who's kind of like, I don't appreciate this, I don't like it, but I'm going to joke about it because I'm not at liberty to talk about it.
Up on the message board we had, someone made kind of a good point, and I just wondered what your thoughts were on this, because you mentioned earlier, which I believe is always in the case of a president or a royalty or anything like that, that they do have the questions a day or two in advance. So why couldn't someone be more relaxed if they know that they're going to be asked a question like this?
That's my point exactly. You would expect them to be more relaxed. You'd expect them to be more rehearsed. Obama especially loves it when he has his teleprompter. But if you take that away, you should still have time. If you've been given the questions, you should have time to, if you're going to tell jokes, to perfect your jokes. When somebody's not a great actor, you can see that. Well, I should say you can see when somebody is trying to control their response in such a way that wouldn't seem spontaneous. Like, I believe Obama really was being genuine. You saw some genuine smiles like he normally does when he's having fun. You see everything that indicates he's being genuine, including when he turns away and says that he can't talk about something. I think that was genuine. Right.
Didn't he, look down at his feet or something?
He did briefly, and I point out in the video that's not uncommon for Obama. He looks down 50% of the time when he's in interviews, but there's another reason for that, and that gets into talking about neurolinguistic programming and where he's trying to access in his mind. So it's not necessarily I'm avoiding eye contact with you because I don't like to look at you when I'm, stressed. It's probably a combination of things, but that in itself does not, indicate that he's being untruthful. I think he was being truthful.
Well, great work. It was really very entertaining to watch that, and it's. Just one other question: has anyone else attempted to do what you've done with these videos?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of in that degree. I think I have seen a couple videos where people, might take, one phrase, or somebody was trying to make the case that that there's a grand deception going on, that there's no such thing as aliens, and that this is part of, kind of angels and demons thing. But nobody else I know of has done this, and that's why, like I said, I kind of felt like that morning after the interview, I was like, well, if nobody does this, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Somebody has to say something, and just let the people decide.
Someone up on the message board, and I thought we could get into this a little bit later, but we might as well bring it up now. We'll shift gears here. And in regards to your night vision technology that you sell, I hope that's going well. We have a banner. I believe we have a banner up on our website for you. And if that is selling well, are customers saying that they're seeing UFOs with them?
Yes. typically what we see with the night vision is because the Generation 3 stuff enhances light by about 50,000 times. And it's getting better. In fact, we just came out with a new one that really, really decreases what we call the halo effect around bright objects. So what we're seeing most of are these objects that are about the size and height of a satellite. You'll see a lot more satellites tracking, but like I've seen before, you'll see these objects that will go in a straight line and suddenly they'll start changing course. They will slightly deviate. They'll do S-turns. I don't buy into people who don't try to do their own debunking at first, and they just say, "Oh, it was powering up. It's having a war with the other UFOs." And you have to know a lot about iridium satellite flares. You have to know about how the satellite might turn on its axis, and the panels are actually reflecting, and that's what looks like it's pulsating. And so, but at any rate, people are recording these. We have hookups to iPhones, to DSLR cameras, and stuff that makes it very simple to record.
Wow, iPhones. Wow. I had no idea you had an iPhone app for that. It's not an app, but it hooks right up to your iPhone camera?
It's not an app. It's sort of a bracket that will go on the eyepiece of the scope.
I see. Kind of like I've seen lenses that go on iPhones and things like that.
Yeah, for the microscopes and all those things.
So for the new technology you just spoke about, is that some type of polarizing effect or something?
For the latest night vision?
Right.
No, what they've done is the night vision has an ion barrier, so the light bombards this kind of barrier that turns it into electromagnetic to a pulse that is read by the computer chips. And from what I understand, is they tried to make this ion film thinner and thinner and thinner, and so they just basically got rid of it altogether. But it's not been until now that they've been able to have a product that is not too fragile, that doesn't break. So that's where they're at on it.
I see. Now, as a follow-up to the last question, is there any collection of these videos anywhere that have been taken with an iPhone?
Yeah, there's a great article. I'm not sure if Lee Spiegel has published it yet on Huffington Post, but he should pretty soon. I don't want to give it away for him, but I sold one of the scopes to a gentleman who's not too far from where I am here in Newport Beach, California, and he's been filming these strange sort of orb-like objects. If I could find where his website link is, I'd give it to you. But he's been posting these for quite a while now, and he has recorded some quite incredible things. Lee also did a story on a military guy who's out in North Carolina who filmed a triangle that seems to be kind of turning. We're trying to decide if that triangle was turning or if it was just his camera position. But the reason it's important is because it's a pretty quick turn, and it's silent. So he may have captured one of these silent triangles. And on our Show Factor Faked, we reviewed another night vision video that was similar, that is debatable whether it was people hang gliding at night. So the tricky thing is having this with you, because most of these sightings only last a couple seconds. So you really have to be out there looking for it, or have this thing ready to go, because the things I've seen are over within 4 seconds.
Wow. You want to talk about a couple of ones you've seen? Was that
sure.
The triangle? Was that one you saw?
I have seen a triangle in Huntington Beach, California, just a few years ago, and it was spectacular. It was everything that people talk about. It was the strangest thing, again, is people explain, it was completely silent. It was about 1,000 feet over my head. My now wife also witnessed it with me. We were jogging on a track at night at the high school, and I had stopped just to stretch, was looking up at the sky. It had 3 lights on each point, and the inner part in the middle was either painted the same color as the sky above, or it had some type of technology that allowed it to be transparent, because I could see a defined edge, but just like people say, it was literally transparent, in the middle. So
hear this all the time. I mean, that seems to be a reoccurring thing. There was even in the Phoenix Lights, when it went over between the two peaks, there was a similar description. If I'm correct.
No, that's very true. The people theorizing on the propulsion system talk about light being bent around it, maybe because the propulsion bends the light, or maybe it's just an intentional something rather. But my question again is if this is military, why would they be flying it over a very populated area like this if they want to keep it a secret? Mm-hmm. It was cruising fast. And I've had two other experiences. My first one was in the Caribbean. I saw one of these satellite-type objects, and it was in a straight line until it started doing S-turns in the sky. So you consider the G-forces at play there, not conventional at all.
I had a show producer on, and also some of that writes for Larry David and all that, and he wrote. He had a movie called Trekkies, and so I had him on. He's a skeptic basically, and he said every single triangle that they see out there, people see out there, is something secretive military. He said that is the answer 100%. Boy, I got a lot of email after that.
Well, that's great. It's great to have an opinion, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you take a look at the military mindset and how they strived so hard to keep Area 51 a secret, because they have this huge expanse of land, and now we've got, dubbed Area 52 in Dugway, Utah, and these places that lots of space, you can go fly your planes and keep them a secret, at least from the public, maybe not from foreign satellites, but it kind of defeats the purpose. If you're going to fly these over downtown Phoenix, mm-hmm. over Bulgaria, over the Hudson Valley, over Illinois, Belgium. It's not really a secret anymore, is it? If that's what you decide to do with it.
Exactly. I think I brought up something like that to him, and of course he had some type of answer. Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm wondering if we could squeeze a couple more minutes out of you. We're coming up on the top of the hour, because there's just a couple more questions I want to ask. Is that a possibility?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Before the top of the hour, though, I'd like to ask you if you wouldn't mind repeating. When I first had you on the show, you told us a story about your grandfather, and I wondered if you wouldn't mind repeating that story. Basically, his involvement and with his father and with your father. The things he said and all that.
Sure. Well, it kind of starts out in the mid-'90s, early '90s. My grandfather served in the Army, World War II, retired, served in the Marines for a little bit. Actually, that was where he was in World War II, and then retired and joined the Air Force as a civilian logistical technician. So he worked from approximately 52 to the 80s. And he was based in Hill Air Force Base, Utah. And growing up, my dad, it was him and his two sisters. So sometime around about 1964, 1965, my grandfather comes to him and says, "Son, I've been asked to be a part of a special team that might be called upon in times of an emergency, and I'll have to leave, and I can't tell you where I'm going or when I'll be back. So you're the man in charge of the house." And my dad said, "Well, is this like a nuclear threat emergency type of thing?" And he says, "Yeah, something like that." So the summer of 65, it was the first time he remembers that my grandpa got a call. And he remembers him going to the airport, and on that occasion, he remembers he went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So everyone who knows about the Roswell documents, legends, and and such. We know that most of the debris went to Wright-Patterson. It was the home of the Foreign Technology Division. It still is, home of Project Blue Book. And he made several trips over those decades to Wright-Patterson. My father was given a phone number. At times he would call the operator and say, I need to talk to Merlin Hansen, and the operator would say, which building? Building 18. Well, which 18? A, B, C, D? I don't know. I just need to talk to him. So his exchanges over the years, when he'd come back, he was very quiet. He said he often worked alone, only talked to people by their first names. Dad didn't really think much about it, except that he was very hard to get a hold of, including when my grandmother nearly passed away. He couldn't get a hold of him to tell him that she was in the hospital. And my dad was very upset about this. So I don't know how much time we have. I could tell you one little thing.
Yeah. We got time.
Okay. So the one particular summer, my father was on the high school basketball team, and he remembers because his dad had never gone to I think his dad had gone to the games, but he really wanted him to see this game, but he couldn't because he was out at Wright-Pat. And my grandmother was sick on another occasion to where she was in the hospital, like I said, and he couldn't get a hold of him. So when he came back, grandfather came home, and my father just kind of let him have it. He just said, where were you? We almost lost Mom. I was here alone. Grandfather looks him in the eyes and he says, I told you I'm not always available when I go out on these TDYs, these temporary assignments. And he says, what do you mean you're not available? There's phones everywhere. And he said, there's not always phones where I'm working underground. And some people still debate whether there's an underground complex at Wright-Patterson. That to me is not debatable. Don Schmidt and Tom Carey's book,
right?
Thoroughly describes people. There's several layers of levels of hangars. Now they did this for several reasons. One of them was they kind of played a shell game with the Russians in the Cold War. So when the satellites would fly over, they didn't want them to know how many jets they had parked out on the tarmac. So they'd bring them in and they'd take them down several levels to park them. Well, so my dad, just kind of put this away. Didn't think much about it until the 90s when my grandfather contracted liver cancer, eventually spread to his brain and pancreas or prostate, I believe. And they would go to the gym to try and exercise and keep his health up as he was going through chemo. And they would also sit down and they'd watch shows like Unsolved Mysteries. And this is when we first really started hearing about the Roswell account and Wright-Patterson. And so my dad would say, hey, you were out there, weren't you? Like, is any of this true? And my grandfather generally would just kind of laugh it off. He sometimes would just kind of get uncomfortable. This particular time when they were at the gym, my father had asked him several things, and he looked at him, and he said, I think it's time we go. They were just having a great conversation, enjoying themselves, and he says, it's time we leave. Huh. So he knew when he says this, you don't push, my grandfather. So they left, and over the last little bit that we had him alive, there wasn't much of the subject being brought up again, except for sometimes he would nod his head yes. That's interesting, he would say, on the TV shows when they talk about something. And then other times he'd say, that's completely BS. They don't know what they're talking about. And that kind of was a way my dad thought he was sort of confirming to him some things, but he never outright spoke about it. Well, fast forward now to, I believe it was 1996, and I had gone out that night. I was planning on stopping by to see my grandfather in the hospital, and cell phones were rather new. I think I had a 30-minute plan. So I had just made a call to my dad to see if I could stop by the hospital on my way home from a date, and he said, "Your grandfather is actually just passed away. Sorry I missed him, but I had an amazing experience with him. I was here in the room alone." And he didn't tell me at that time exactly what they talked about because it was just one of many things. But he had been pretty silent as, he starts to breathe slower and get closer. And at one point, he took my dad's hand and he looked him in the eyes and he said, "I know what you've been asking me." And he said, "Son, you need to know we're not alone. And don't be afraid." And in the context of it, my dad is absolutely positive. He wasn't talking about there's life after death. They already believed, had a strong belief in that. He was talking about all the things he'd been pestering him about his work and everything else. And he maintained his oath. I mean, my dad and I have always kind of searched around the house looking for the national treasure, looking for a clue. Maybe he left us something. And all we've been able to come up with really is we've been able to line up, and it's speculative, of course, but we've been able to line up the times that he was gone to some actual events that, in my mind, it would be great if it were actually meant something. But, for example, we have 1965. December, I believe it was, and we have the Kecksburg. Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, he was called just 1 or 2 days after that event, and was called out to Wright-Patterson. We have witnesses saying that debris went through the back gate into Wright-Pat, and he was gone for a good week or two after that event. And we're getting into finding more about what he did in his work, and basically, he was a logistical technician for projects and inventory, and for new equipment. So when a new project would come in, they had to allocate space for it, and all of the Air Force's assets had to be inventoried in their computer database. So he was one of the key guys across the country that knew the system inside and out and developed new ways of inventorying and allocating resources. And you have to ask yourself, well, there's either only one of him, or there's some reason why they're pulling people in from across the country, clear across the country, to work for only a week or two on special things.
Right.
And that kind of tends to, go along with how the government operates in compartmentalization.
Ben, you've told me that story twice, and I got to tell you, I get goosebumps, and I can't remember any other time on the show where I get goosebumps. So thank you. So we're going to take a quick little music break here, but we're going to be right back, and I'd like to talk to you about some shows and what you're up to. So hang on just 1 minute. All right, we're back with Ben Hansen in Hour 2. We got him for just a little while here. So, Ben, last time you and I spoke on this show, I can't even remember exactly how long ago it was, but I think you were creating a pilot, perhaps, and I just wanted to find out what's going on in your life these days, what you're up to, because you've been very nice in your emails and everything, but you've been extremely busy. You're all over the world. What are you doing?
Yeah, I sometimes, I do feel bad when I have to just, when I first got into the, it's not like I haven't been busy in my life before, but when I got into the Hollywood business, that was one thing that I really didn't like about people, is that the executive producers and stuff would respond with like one line, Like, yep, looks good. Nope. See you Tuesday. Nope, no word. And I'm like, that is rude. And I'm afraid that I'm becoming that type of a person. Because I kind of see how it's you just get overwhelmed because you have to have your hand in so many things. And, you got a siren going on outside. I apologize. Yeah, one of the pilots that we were filming, we've probably got. Let me think here. We finished a sizzle that we're pitching a new UFO kind of docu-series, which I really, really believe in. I can't talk a whole lot about it, but I'm working with some people that I'm sure you'd recognize. And I've been asked by, I think, 4 or 5 different shows now to be considered hosting new shows in a similar vein, sort of conspiracy-related or mystery-related. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of like you just see which horse comes out first. We, pitching our own and other people pitching to us. So eventually I think something will work out, but that doesn't pay the bills. I have been touring and traveling. I have yet to write a book. Lee Spiegel and I have joked about it. We should write one together.
Well, that would be a great book. I'd buy that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's something I want to do, but it's just kind of that. Plus, I have my night vision business at nightvisionops.com, and that is starting to, it kind of go ebbs and flows because it's kind of like a plant that I neglect. And I just kind of leave it out there, and then I'll have some UFO conferences, and we'll put out the new stuff, and then I kind of leave it again because I get so busy. And now that I'm married, maybe I can assign some duties to the wife.
Oh, we'll see how that goes. It's funny, you were talking about the email, and besides in my life during the day, I'm involved in a startup. Keeps me extremely busy. And I'm thinking I get between 800 to 900 emails a week. So I understand about short. I may be exaggerating, but it's not. I know I get sometimes 100 plus a day. So a lot of times I will throw back very brief emails, and unfortunately, I don't know if this happens to you, and maybe it's my ADD. I don't know, but when I open an email and it's like 14 pages long, I can't do it.
It's true. And the Facebook messages, for people who want to contact me on Facebook, brief is good. I don't need to hear the whole life story. It helps if they first say, "Can I tell you something?"
Yeah.
And then I say, "How long is it?" If you want me to analyze a photo or video, I can do it when I have time, and I'll tell them. It's just that when you have, like you said, 20 people a week or more just wanting to look at photos and videos, it adds up. And a lot of times they don't want to hear what you have to say.
I know. That is true. If you're not saying what they want to hear, they either, one, get mad at you or go on to the next person, basically. Speaking of that, that is a topic I did want to talk to you about. The time just seemed to fly by here, but I know a lot of times Alejandro and I talk, and he'll say, Mark D'Antonio, by the way, let's have some good thoughts from Mark. He's not doing well. I found out this week, and I am hoping he recovers well. He has some health issues, and we can all just hope that he'll recover soon. He's a great guy. And,
well, thank you. Yeah, I'd heard that he was in the hospital. I didn't know the latest update, though.
Yeah. So. He's had some heart issues, and we can just hope that he pulls through okay. But I hear a lot of times from Alejandro, he'll say, "Oh yeah, Mark D'Antonio looked at this, and he has this opinion," and then Ben Hansen looked at it, and he thinks it's a drone, and they agree on it, they don't agree on it, whatever it is. So I imagine that takes up a lot of your time, sort of like doing analysis on things.
It does, and Lee knows that we love it. We love it when he sends us stuff. He's like my second wife. It just, yeah, my first wife doesn't really like it because she'll, and no offense if Lee's listening, she loves Lee, Lee loves her, but sometimes we'll be out on our date, or something, and Lee calls, and I'm like, I got to answer, and she's like, Lee can wait,
I love
I'm
it.
like, but he's got a story. I'm sure he's got something. He's like, yes, but Lee likes to chat a lot. And you guys you'll talk for like an hour. And I was like, okay. Let me just tell him that I'll call him back. So
I love Lee. He's such a great guy. I had him on the show a while back, and it's so funny. It's like when my show ends, I am editing and putting together the full show and the separate show and everything, and then a YouTube video with it's just audio, but it's put on YouTube. So I'm up another like hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, just doing that after every single show. And after I had my show with Lee, we talked for almost 2 hours on the phone. He's just a lot of fun. He's
he is, and he has a great storytelling voice. I always tell him, it's like he sounds like was it Burl Ives, the Christmas song guy. Right. So he calls. Usually about once a week or so, and he might have something, and it does take a little bit of time, but I consider it a pleasure because it keeps me relevant in what's going on, and when people ask me, what do you think about this or that, a lot of times I only know about it because Lee has forwarded it to me, so it keeps my skills sharp, and it gives me more material if we ever decide to write a book.
Right. So right now, as far as I just want to ask you, there was a show you mentioned, and is it the same show you were talking about the last time we talked? It sounds similar, or was there something else in the works?
I'm not sure. We had UFOs Declassified is on the History Channel, and I filmed a couple episodes with them. I think I only made the edit in one episode, but it aired six in Canada, and the interesting thing is the Smithsonian U.S. bought it as well, but they, as of yet, have not aired it. They had some problems, shall we say, just agreeing on the content. Now, I'm not insinuating any type of conspiracy. We love the Smithsonian for having even considered this because it's very non-conventional for them.
Right.
But even considering it, it's great. It's just that from what I hear, there had been a lot of edits, and so they don't know if it's actually going to air on the Smithsonian anymore.
Oh, wow, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the piece I remember, something about that. If you're listening live, you can call in. We have Ben on just for a few more minutes, and call in at 603-967-4030. And Ben, do people just associate you with fact or faked? Is that what you get the most when someone sees you? Or, that was a pretty popular show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and that's by far the thing I'm most known for. Yeah, if people were to recognize me, that's what I'm known for. But it's like UFOs Declassified. I was just up in Vancouver, Canada, and so they're the ones that have been watching that one. Down in Australia, they're still showing reruns of our last season down there as well. So I really had not done anything in TV, prior to that. So a lot of the conferences that I get asked to, though, they don't, should I say, well, I want to say advertise, but I really want to say exploit. They don't really exploit the title as much because they're more academic. You tend to find that the UFO conferences are more academic than fan-based, which is great because they want to hear, what have you done recently? What have you researched recently? And, at first when I started doing the circuit, I was drawing upon stories of things we did on the show. But since then, I've been drawing upon videos, that people have sent me, the analysis on the interviews and things like that. So That's kind of the niche that I've taken is kind of the especially the hoaxing aspect of it, and what I developed with a profiling system of trying to categorize why people do things and what we can do to kind of spot the hoaxes.
Right. Now, here's a question up on the message board. Has there ever been any footage on Fact or Faked that the producers have had to shy away from for any reason other than, not being newsworthy?
There's actually a few things, and I'm sure it's okay to talk about. They don't like you to know how the sausage is made behind the scenes, meaning they don't want you to know that what they call the fourth wall. Okay, right. So yep. They want you to be in the moment and to imagine this is just us. There's not camera people filming us, and so there was one thing that was interesting. We were filming I wasn't there. It was a ghost case, though. It was a bar where an ashtray exploded on camera. And when my team went back to replicate that, we were filming actually a wide shot is what I think picked it up. And so you see the cameraman there. I think they were just about to set up what we call an OTF, or on the fly, where you're talking to the camera and you're saying, we're going to set up this experiment over here and do this and blah, blah, blah. Well, as they're setting that up, one of these wine glasses that was on a rack hanging above the bar flew off of the rack and came flying off and broke. And it was amazing because this is what allegedly occurred, object manipulation, the ashtray. And great catch. The footage, it was captured on video, but when they went back to the edit, the producers loved it, but it's got to go through several layers, to the network and stuff. And we love our network execs. I'll say that. We do. But see, they have something else they're looking out for. And because they weren't there, they weren't insinuating that we faked this. But what they're saying was, if we air this, and it's the same thing that happened in Indiana, people won't believe this is real. It's almost like it's too good to be true. And we said, well, this is
it's
this
almost
is what
like
we wanted.
It's almost like if you have a film of a UFO and it's too good, who the hell's going to believe it?
Yes,
they're going to say
exactly.
It's CGI, it's whatever,
Exactly, and their contention here was, well, the camera guy's in the shot as well, and they're like, can you go back and film? What do you want us to fly back and ask whatever spirit or whatever did this to do it again?
Wow.
So that's, anyways.
I got to say, and I don't think I've ever said it on this show, but I actually had something happen to me that is totally unexplainable and along those lines. And I would, I would take any lie detector test, anything anyone ever wants to do. You could stare at me when I'm telling you the story. It happened to me. And you know what? I'm going to leave the listener hanging. And if you want to hear it, Alejandro asked me to talk about it on Open Minds, the last show, last Monday. So if you want to hear the story, you can listen to it there. And it really did happen. It was absolutely bizarre and unexplainable. There has to be some type of explanation, but I just don't know.
Was it related to ghost hunting?
Yes. Something. Am I going to have to say it? Let's see what the chat room says. Do you want to hear it? I'll just tell it again. People that have already heard it can listen again. Do you have time?
I do. I was gonna throw in there. Maybe it's you saw it with Alejandro, or this
no, he made me talk about it.
Oh, gotcha. Because he might be a magnet himself. When I was at the Roswell UFO Festival, when the day closed at the very end of the conference, we had heard that the museum itself is haunted, and we decided to go do a little investigation upstairs because it used to be a movie theater. And so as Alejandro and his girlfriend and Maureen, I don't think Jason was there. Anyways, they're all looking at me, and I'm looking down the hallway the other direction, and I saw a dark figure, probably about 6 foot tall, with sort of a cloak trailing behind. No detail, just the outline form. Walk from one side of the hall to the other and disappear.
Wow.
And I jumped up, I ran down there, and I turned the corner, and there's an open doorway where it looked like it came out of, but the other side is a wall, and it went right through the wall.
Oh, Jesus.
So,
can you imagine being a little kid and seeing that? You'd never sleep again. You know? All right, so I'm going to just tell the story because it really happened. And so anyway, years ago, I grew up in the antiques and fine arts and auction business mainly. And years ago, I got a call from a lawyer that wanted me to take antiques out of a house. It wasn't an old house or anything, probably the 1940s. So I looked, and there were, some decent things. And it was a slow time of year. It was the winter. So I said, I'll tell you what. I says, I'll get a crew in there. We'll clean it out and charge you, so much money to clean it out after we take the antiques out. Take stuff to the dump, sweep it down, get it ready to sell. So no problem. He said, yeah, go ahead and do that. So I had a crew, a small crew that day. It was just 2 other people and myself. And I was upstairs in one of the bedrooms. And what they had done is they put in this green ugly carpet. And I want to first say that there was absolutely no wind that day. It was early, I think it was like February, March or something like that. Uh-huh. And so all the windows were down in the room. The storm windows in New England, they were down. And so I pulled the door open to the closet, and the door was hung up on the carpet. They never cut the door when they put the carpet in. So I had to really yank the door really, really hard to get it open. And I'm taking stuff out of the closet, putting it in a garbage bag, mostly coat hangers and hat boxes and stuff like that. And I fill up the bag, and I tie it up. I walk out into the hallway, and all of a sudden, slam, as loud as can be. And I walk back in, and I look, and the door was shut. So just to be sure, I walked over to the door, and I pulled it back, and it's really pulling really hard on the carpet. And I go, oh, my God. And just before that, I had slid the broom down the stairway because I was done sweeping. And so just after I pulled the door and say, I'm going to get out of there, the front door slammed downstairs. Again, there was no wind that day. I walked down to the bottom of the stairs, and the broom is leaning up against the door. So then the very last thing, so one of the workers came back, and I told him the story, and he was walking around me going, ooh, making a real joke of it. And I said, no, I'm not going to be in this house alone. I want to get the hell out of here. So we cleaned the place out. There was a truck backed up, like a trailer backed up. And the worker says, all right, I'll see you later. He takes off with his stuff. And next thing you know, I look around. There's only one thing left in the whole garage area, and it's a basket. So I reach over to pick up the basket, and it won't budge. And I'm thinking, wow, it's stuck to the floor. So I pull it really hard, and it breaks in half, and the top half is in my hand. And I toss it in the trailer, and all of a sudden I just think, oh. And I walk over and I tap it with my foot, and it was loose on the floor. It wasn't even attached.
Did the second half?
The bottom half that stuck to the floor was not attached to anything when I tapped it with my foot. It just slid. So, and that, honest to God, that's 100% happened to me. It's true, and I would stake my reputation totally on it because I saw it happen. And I remember keeping very quiet about it, telling just a few people, and thinking, I would not believe this story if someone told it to me. And it's not one of these major stories, but I just know that it happened, and there's no answer I can think of.
Yeah, it's true. You can't really this stuff that I've seen when you tell people, I don't expect them to believe it. Some people will only be convinced if it happens to them, and even then, it's not. Right. If you do this long enough, though, even when you're not looking for it, exactly. You get in these areas, these locations, these hot spots, you're going to have stuff happen.
Right. And I know this is a UFO show, so if someone just wants to listen to UFOs, I do apologize. One other question I had for you, Ben, is when you were doing Fact or Faked, was there any show that you can think of that you just were totally blown away by results?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of, like I said, the ghost hunting stuff. We had what we call object manipulation. Things were thrown around the rooms. We had a camera destroyed. I had objects were picked up and slammed right behind me. A light, came flying off of a door and down the hallway. So that to me is undeniable. But we also captured probably two of my very favorite UFO cases. Well, one of them, I don't even know I categorize it as UFO, although there was a UFO involved, was the one in England, in the UK, where we had a woman who seems to have disappeared from her bed for 13 minutes. Mm-hmm. So that one blew me away, just because it's either something very strange like a spontaneous invisibility or deportation, which I think is kind of outlandish. It's not that I don't have an open mind to that, but really I don't know there's much evidence to support that. Or you have a very, very strange illusion that took place, and she's not really disappeared, which is also very, very extraordinary. And when you look at the video, the other one was a case I was not at, but my other team was down in the panhandle of Florida, and they were able to duplicate some lights that a man filmed behind a grove of trees, kind of in a swampy, brackish water area. So they were able to duplicate it. However, I don't think if we're to trust him, and they seem like they said he was a very trustworthy guy from their impression, I don't think he would have faked it. He would have had to have been lying about that there was no noise and all this stuff to when they did their night investigation, though. Our camera, which is a full spectrum, it picks up both the IR and UV spectrums, captured an orb-like object as they were witnessing from the back side. They went out on a boat and they witnessed an object that kind of sucked in, just from this mass of a light into nothing and disappeared, while on the backside we filmed this light come up out of the grove of trees and zip off like at light speed. And I thought it was a tremendous catch, and again, it's unfortunate that I had the file. I did what I could to get the file from the production, but I couldn't get the actual tape because I think it's one of the greatest catches ever, definitely on the show, of a phenomenon that is unexplainable.
Wow, amazing. Now, Ben, I don't want to abuse your good nature and keep you on for real long, but I do want to ask you just one last question if I could. And that is, I remember when you had, is it Jonathan Reed? Is that who I'm thinking of?
I could see you wanted to say Reed, but you were going to say his real name Rudder, right?
Yeah. Now, do you happen to know that? Well, let's recap the story a little bit. The supposedly he's walking with his dog, and didn't the alien kill his dog or something like that? Yes,
he was in. Gosh, I want to say it was 98. I want to say that the year was, but maybe it was earlier than that. Was in Washington State at a really, really beautiful area near Snoqualmie Falls. My brother used to live up there, and this is a big area for Bigfoot sightings as well. And, everything you'd think of Washington, lush, big pine trees, ferns, and everything. And he claims he was out walking with his dog, and I think his dog's name was Susie. It was a golden retriever or something. And his dog breaks away from him, chasing after something. So he hears his dog kind of whimpering, and he thinks, oh no, it's got entangled with some type of a mountain lion or some animal. So he grabs a stick to go run over and try to help his dog out. When he finds his dog, he sees this creature 4 foot something high, that's got his dog by the neck. And so he takes a stick, and it didn't look human, but he whacks the thing on the head. And so after what he believes he killed this entity, he wasn't sure if it was human or not, and he looks across the way and sees what he refers to as the obelisk, which is sort of this triangular-looking craft that's hovering in the forest. So he had a video camera with him. He takes it out. He films the alien. He films the ship, and then took a survival blanket and wrapped the creature up and took it back home. So, look, I would love for this type of thing. It's a fantastic story, and if I didn't tell John he should turn it into a movie, he should. It's a great story. But yeah, that was one of my favorite cases because I really did approach it with an open mind. But I watched a lot of stuff, both his content and other people's, and it fell apart pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about. That there was I remember watching that particular episode, and he did not like your conclusion of the whole thing. But one of the main questions I have is: he still sticking to this story? Because doesn't he have like a real strong following? This is what kind of scares me sometimes in this field.
He does. He claimed to me while we were there, he told me that he'd sold, I think it was over $100,000 worth or copies, or I can't exactly remember, of his book right after he had his Coast to Coast interview, and was kind of saying, yeah, I made a lot of money off of this and whatever. I'm like thinking, well, okay, that's your motivation. But he's traveled the world in I think Japan. He's been to Mexico. He's been invited internationally, and the case, after people had done some research on him and found out some things like it wasn't his real name and he didn't have these degrees, he probably never had a dog because he's allergic. And when this all started happening, he said he was in hiding, but people had seen him at a wedding. So when this all happened, he stopped being invited to most of the UFO conferences. But he still has a very loyal following. In fact, Jaime Maussan spoke to me once about it, and he's, you got to love Jaime for who he is. He's a great entertainer. Mm. But he tells me, I think that you are right about some of these things, but I do think that there is some truth to what he's saying. And I'm like, Jaime, he's like, what part is true? What part of this story are you going along with? Because this is not something that you kind of like mess up on one of the details. And it's like, okay. All right. The alien wasn't true, but the ship was. Or,
yeah.
My dog's name was Bronco. It wasn't Susie. No. It's either a total fabrication or not. And when I cornered Jonathan on this, on especially the videos that I don't know if they're still floating out there, but the one that really got to me was he claimed that he filmed before a live audience in Canada, a TV show, where he used the artifact. You put it on your wrist and you disappear. You're transported.
Really?
Well, you never see the live audience. You only hear them. It looks like a 12-year-old filmed it in the basement. And you never see the host, and you never see any cutaways. It's one camera angle. I'm like, Jonathan. Come on. I was like, you expect me to believe this was a professional TV show? And he says, I didn't do the editing. Was that you on TV? Yes. Did you disappear when you put the bracelet on? Yes. I was like, okay. You've lost me. Because you see some static. There's like... And then the camera goes blank, and he's gone when it comes on.
Oh,
right?
My God.
And then he comes back, and he's breathing heavy. He's like, it worked. So the thing is, he has people close to him that it's kind of like, I'm opening a whole other can here, and people are going to hate me. I just know they will online. I don't care. when Stan Romanek, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Stan, I believe, and I don't know if he's listening to this, if he's in jail currently or what the situation is, but but I do believe Stan probably had a legitimate experience at first. I think he probably had some legitimate sightings. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I have not read his books yet. I always tell people before I have an opinion, I'm going to read their material. So I can't quite come out. However, I feel silly almost wasting my time because everything that people have told me, my experiences personally with him, this happens to where people get a taste of either fame or fortune, or they just feel like I feel important for once in my life. And I like the idea that I can either manipulate somebody or give them hope. And in Jonathan's case, I think he truly does have a good heart. I know that sounds weird to say, but he likes telling people there's hope, don't give up, this and that. And I think there is some genuineness there, but it does not outweigh all the people he swindled money from, for his books and stuff. Exactly. So anyways, it's his closest followers like Romanek, and who knows how much Romanek's wife knew. But it's very, very interesting to me. I would love to do a study specifically on this because it's a cultish-like following to where they are blinded voluntarily to not see things and follow these people. And then they'll get online, and Jonathan's camp made a couple of really silly, cheesy videos, about us and, and all this stuff. And whether they disagreed with us, which I'm sure they did, it had the side effect of bringing the story back out and resurrecting it. So in the end, it benefited them anyways.
There's sort of like a link. Now, I'm probably going to offend someone by saying this, but I almost see the link about Scientology. I don't know if you watched that video or not, but I'm trying to say goodbye to you, but I have to ask you another question, and it's something I kind of promised my audience I wouldn't talk too much about it, but we already talked about it in the news a little bit. What did you think of that whole situation recently down in Mexico with the slides?
Sure. Well, let me add the disclaimer that I have a lot of friends who are involved at some degree, and they all had different parts, different reasons to be involved. So I'm not going to, I guess, denigrate why people decided to do what they did, but Jaime Maussan was chosen because he had an audience. Adam Dew came to me a couple years ago. And, I don't know if he necessarily came to me, but we were put in contact with each other. And I will stand up for Adam in that I think he's a genuine, he is a good documentarian. He makes an excellent product, and he had a genuine interest in trying to find out what this was. There was in no way, shape, or form any type of hoaxing that I feel was involved in him trying to pull one over on people. He showed me the slides of this, what they were hoping was, an alien and maybe had a connection to Roswell. And he just wanted my honest opinion. He knew that I might have some connections with trying to get the documentary sold. He spent a lot of money and years. So as anyone would, you want to see something come of it. But he really didn't care where the cards fell. And he did all this research basically on his own to take it to Kodak, to take it, to try and analyze the other photos associated with what they found. And the main, I think, I guess you could say, critique of where I think is confusing was to why he joined up with Jaime Maussan. To present it in the way that it was, if indeed we're hoping this is something legitimate, why do it in this way? And that I understand when people say that. I also understand that when you have, my good friends like Don Schmidt, Tom Carey, and everyone else who went down there for the conference, I don't think you can fault them at all for saying they were part of something like this, because they're in it for the legitimate interest in trying to find out what this is. I don't know anything about profits or how they were shared or anything like that, but I don't think, that it was a money-making scam, because if something came out of it, they're able to solve the mystery, and he was able to get his money back for the documentary. I think that's what Adam really wanted, and that's what happened.
Okay, well, I promise, the listeners, I just wanted to hear your opinion on that, and I am honestly going to let you go after this question on the message board was going back to the shadowy figure that you saw. Did anyone try to get any video of this in the hotel or look at hotel surveillance?
We weren't in a hotel. Are we talking about this was the Roswell UFO Museum. So it's upstairs, and no, I didn't have my video camera out. I didn't have a video camera. I wasn't planning on doing ghost hunting, so I had my phone. But I talk about this a lot once again. Even if that phone was out and I was anticipating that something was going to happen, without using night vision and or thermal or something that will enhance the image, there's no way the phone would have picked up what I saw very clearly.
Right. Well, Ben, again, I'm not going to abuse you. I kept you on for a real long time, and I don't want to get your wife mad at me. So, but
then she'll say you have another wife.
But anyway, it's always a real pleasure talking to you, Ben. You're a great guy, and I'm going to be very interested to see what happens down the road with you and what you get involved in.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and we'll stay in touch. You take care.
All right, you too.
All right, everyone. Well, I had been on for a lot longer than I anticipated. And I got to tell you, when I first knew that Ben was going to be on the show, I had no idea that, he was absolutely so swamped, so busy. And so he wrote me the other day that he could only be on for about 30 minutes. So I got him on for just about an hour and a half. So I did pretty well. So at the last minute, I was trying to figure out what to do for the second part of the show. And I'll also, anyone that's listening live is welcome to call in. And just if you want to share a story, if you want to ask me a question, anything you want, it's 603-967-4030. I'm not sure if we have enough listeners out there live right now that we can have an actual call-in show, but I would love to hear from anyone that has a story they'd like to tell about a sighting or anything like that. You're welcome to call. Again, 603-967-4030. Now, Michael Lauk, who used to work with us here, he used to do the news. A lot of people still talk about him. Great guy. We stay in touch. He is writing blogs, maybe one or two a month for us. He's also writing a book, and I believe he's in the editing part of that book, which is going to be coming out. He's very excited about it, I think in the fall. And we're going to have him on the show when his book does come out. But recently, he wrote a blog that's up on podcastufo.com, and it's called The Faded Discs. And what that is back a number of years ago, a woman named Wendy Connors, she took up collecting and preserving and restoring vintage UFO-related audio recordings. I think that's wonderful because I myself see that, we need to preserve these things as time goes on. Right now we have podcasts out there. They're digital. They're stored somewhere on the net. Who knows what will happen to them in the future. But when you go way back to the old reel-to-reel tape and other ways of recording these shows back then, the sound quality isn't always good, but she put these to digital and preserved them. And these are archives that go all the way back to the 1940s, all the way up until, I think, the 1960s at some time. And so if you go to our website, you can see the blog, and on the blog there are some videos. Again, if anyone would like to call in and say hi, talk about a sighting, talk about anything else that they would like to speak about in their UFO topic, or even abductions, I don't care, 603-967-4030. In just a minute here, I'm going to play a couple of interesting clips of what I find interesting. And you can actually call in between them, talk about them if you'd like, or anything else like that. So going through, I made one little bit of a mistake, and that is I picked out some long ones because I thought that I would have the whole hour to myself here, and which I've never done before, just plain talking. But I am going to play, let's see, right here. These are all too long for the time that we have left. So bear with me if you would. I am going to just play clips here and there. This is Kenneth Arnold. He did a little short phone interview, so this one's going to play right now.
It was while I was searching for this crash that I noticed a terrific blue flash pass the nose of my airplane. I noticed that the flash came from a chain of very peculiar-looking objects that were rapidly approaching Mountaineer at about 170 degrees. This chain of objects were 9 in number. I assumed at the time they were a new formation or a new type of jet, though I was baffled by the fact that they did not have any tails. It passed almost directly in front of me, but at a distance of about 23 miles, which is not very great in the air. I judged their wingspan to be at least 100 feet across. The sighting did not particularly disturb me at the time, except that I had never seen planes of that type. I never could understand at that time why the world got so upset about this, as these things didn't seem to be a menace. I believe they had something to do with our Army and Air Force. Now, of course, some of the reports they did take from newspapers which did not quote me properly. Now, when I told the press, they misquoted me, and in the excitement of it all, one newspaper and another one got it so snarled up that nobody knew just exactly what they were talking about, I guess. These objects more or less fluttered like they were, I'd say boats on very rough water or a very rough air of some type. And when I described how they flew, I said that they flew like you take a saucer and throw it across the water. Most of the newspapers misunderstood and misquoted that, too. They said that I said that they were saucer-like. I said they flew in a saucer-like fashion. I more or less have reserved an opinion as to what I think. Naturally, being a natural-born American, if it's not made by our science or our Army Air Forces, I'm inclined to believe that it's of an extraterrestrial origin. Well, I'll tell you this much. All the airline pilots, none of us have appreciated being laughed at. We made our reports essentially to begin with because we thought that if our government didn't know what it was only our duty to report it to our nation and to our Air Force out of it. I think it's something that is of concern to every person in the country. And I don't think it's anything for people to get hysterical about. Now, that's just my frank opinion of it.
And that goes back to Kenneth Arnold, all the way back. You know, he is, when you think of the flying saucer, and of course he talks about that. I thought that was interesting. Now, I'm going to play a couple of clips that I have not listened to, only because, again, I thought I had a whole hour to fill. So I'm just going to be playing a couple of other interesting clips. So I have no idea what's on them, have not listened to them. This right here is 1947 and it's ABC News, and it's on the Roswell disc. And I'm not sure if I heard this. Maybe it's the one I've heard before, but here it goes.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. Late this afternoon, authorities from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondent in
I'm sorry, I'm stopping that one only because, yes, I have heard that, and I'm sure you have heard that, but the sound quality is just a little bit too rough, in my opinion, for that one. So I'm going to actually try. We'll try this one right here and see what it is. This was in 1954. Lord Hugh Dowding on flying saucers. I have no idea what this one is. Let's give it a listen.
The evidence for the existence of flying saucers is so overwhelming that I have long ago accepted. I am therefore very little interested in stories of fresh sightings unless they refer to some new or rare type of vehicle. What I am interested in is any report or account of personal contact with the occupants, however far-fetched the story may appear to be. It is by analyzing and correlating these often conflicting accounts that we shall sooner or later amass a volume of evidence which will enable us to form a useful theory about the facts of interplanetary flight.
All right, this next one I did listen to. It is a short clip, and it's basically, I think it was Dr. Hynek admits that the Roswell case was true. Now, he's not actually saying it, but this is a second-hand account, but it's still interesting.
In 1973, during the great UFO wave in the eastern United States in October of 1973, Hynek and I were at a luncheon in Ohio, and someone at the table said to Hynek, "Well, Dr. Hynek, is it true that bodies of aliens have been taken to Wright Field?" And he said, of course, "I don't know." Then he turned to me and he said, "But it is true."
I like that one. And hang on, what happens with these, if one will just play right after the other, so I have to jump around, and we're just gonna sample. This is a Canadian editorial on Project Blue Book back in 1956.
Sighting of these unidentified objects, or UFOs as they have come to be known, has not been confined to our time, but has occurred throughout past ages as well. The reports have come from all kinds of people. Interspersed among those from obvious crackpots have been sightings made by scientists, by experienced pilots, radar operators, and others who knew what they were looking at. What is the answer? One of the most exhaustive attempts to find it has been the American Air Force's Project Blue Book, covering all the available data surrounding 1,593 UFO reports. Most of these, upon being tracked down, were found to have a natural and logical explanation. Ice particles in the atmosphere reflecting diffused light, weather balloons, high-flying aircraft, simple reflections from inversion air masses, and even the bellies of birds seen from a certain angle, distance, and light are only a few of the many natural phenomena that had been taken as flying saucers. But what of the 27% of sightings by competent observers which Project Blue Book could not explain? Is there additional information we have not yet learned that will show them up as perfectly natural phenomena? Or would additional information explain them as something we now, in our present horizons of science, cannot even comprehend? Only time will tell.
All right. This one always interests me on the ghost rockets. That was in Switzerland, I believe. So hopefully this is in English. And this was back in 1946, during when all the ghost rocket sightings were cited.
What happened was, in that time, during the last period of the war, that various mysterious things seemed to be going on over our air in Sweden. And for a long time we didn't know what it was. And then the strange thing happened that one of these things landed. And there was great secrecy about it at the time. We didn't get to know much. The whole thing, of course, went into pieces when it got into the ground in a place in southern Sweden. But our military people very diligently collected all the bits that they could find, and they packed it all off to England. And the British were able to figure out what it was. And so, although perhaps it didn't help them much, they really were prepared for what was going to happen. They were able to figure out how this thing was functioning. What had happened was simply that this was one projectile that was being tested from Peenemünde, and that had got out of its intended orbit. If I remember right, true, that not during the last period of the war, but after, shortly after, there were observations of some kind of objects that were seen over the Baltic. I cannot say for sure if they were seen actually over Sweden, that were believed to have come from Russian test stations situated in the Baltic.
So that's it. If you want to check that out, again, you just go to our website, podcastufo.com, and go to our blogs, and you will see that link with all these great things. There's about 11 hours you can listen to that. So anyway, that's it for the show tonight. I want to thank everyone for helping out. I want to thank Alejandro Rojas for the news. Ben Hansen, what a great guest. I'm always thrilled to have him on. I want to thank him. Peggy Shunning, I want to thank you for managing the Facebook page. Great job. Remember to like us on Facebook for all the latest UFO news. And Carrie Lloyd Whitehouse for the music this week. And if you're listening this long, you are a supporter of the show or listening live, and I want to thank you for doing that. And we'll be here next week, live at 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Thank you, everyone, and keep your eyes to the sky.